So I know I'm already late to this review, but hey, better late than never. Recently, Hollywood has had a shtick for buying old popular IPs and rehashing and remixing them for modern audiences and to help push the message. Yes, we have now officially entered an era of entertainment where nostalgia trumps original ideas, and this sentiment is reflected on us as soon as we turn on the TV. Everything nowadays is a sequel, a reboot, a live-action reboot, or a 10 to 20 year late sequel that no one really asks for. Hollywood is so obsessed with this idea of nostalgia bait that instead of creating and having faith in original ideas and stories, they'd rather take said original stories and ideas, attach them to already popular IPs, jam it full of intersectional politics, and completely reject the original fanbase. I mean, look at last year. Last year we had multiple shows based off of very popular IPs with very active fan bases, and most, if not all of them, went out of their way to rewrite the original story that got said IP popular in the first place, reject the fan base, and jam it full of so many intersectional politics that they weren't even recognizable. Like, how are you gonna have fucking Master Chief and show his face on the first episode? One of the biggest examples of this nostalgia bait is Mindy Kaling's new show, Velma. Now, I understand this show has been under a microscope and has been under fire for the past few months, so I will try not to repeat what has already been said, but holy f***, this show is a shit show and a half. Like, even when they first announced this show, something seemed off. It's like they purposely written it to be bitter and to get hate from the original fanbase and anyone who isn't an intersectional feminist. Like, how can you listen to this and not come up with that conclusion?
I heard this new version of Judy Jetson wouldn't be boy crazy. The only word I had to describe my disgust is jinkies. If there is one thing the internet agrees on, it's that you should never change anything ever. I hope you die. Sincerely, Velma. Well, at least Judy's still white.
Like, I don't say this a lot, but this has to be bait for people to hate watch, because who in their right mind would, one, have a Scooby-Doo show without f***ing Scooby, and two, what was the point of race bending all the characters? Oh, and don't give me that BS of, oh, representation, because why would you then just turn around and just make them a bunch of racial stereotypes? Isn't that completely counterintuitive? Oh, Shaggy is a stoner directionist, so he has to be black. Daphne is skilled at everything and code switches all the time, so of course she's Asian. And don't forget, she sells drugs now. And wait, are we really doing this? I'll get into that later. And Fred apparently is a symbol of white privilege, and his small member is subject to a lot of jokes.
A rich white guy with a tiny dong, he did it.
Like, are you serious right now? This type of writing is just out of pure spite. And I just got this info from the character descriptions, not even the show itself. Like, who is this show even trying to attract? The funny thing to me is the fact that Mindy Kaling self-inserted herself into Velma because she says she relates to the nerdy outcast type of girl, but in all actuality, she was born from rich parents, never worked a full day job, and got a job in Hollywood through nepotism and family connections. Ironically, it seems like she has more in common with how she written Fred than anyone else in the series. The show immediately starts off by attacking the audience. Like, I mean, as soon as you hear Velma's monologue, you already know what's in store for you in this show.
Sure. Normally, origin stories are about tall, handsome guys struggling with the burden of being handed even more power. And if they are about girls, it's usually like, hey, what made this hot chick go crazy?
We enter the main setting of Crystal Cove High School, where the gang apparently goes, and we get a shower scene introducing Daphne, Velma, and most of the main cast of the show. The show has this weird shtick of being super meta and poor attempts of breaking the fourth wall, like characters just commenting about things currently going on in the screen is somehow comedy. It never really comes off as funny, it more just comes off as the writers are trying too hard, kind of like how She-Hulk attempted to break the fourth wall very poorly. So the primary mystery of this show so far is that Daphne's best friend Brenda was found dead inside of Velma's locker. She now has to help the investigators, Daphne's definitely not forced lesbian parents, to solve the mystery and clear her name since she is the prime suspect. Honestly, the setup isn't that bad, it's the execution of it that has me face-palming every 5 minutes. Like, the only way I can describe the jokes in this show is mean-spirited. Like, I honestly feel that's the reason it's so hard to laugh at this show, because every single joke feels like it's targeting the audience, or calling the viewer stupid for expecting certain things out of the show. Like, I don't know, character dynamics that actually make sense and not just things that are written in for the sake of conflict or unfunny jokes like, haha, so funny, Fred is rich and popular and has a small penis. Oh, ha ha ha, look, Shaggy has feelings that are unreturned. Ew, look at that cuck. She just sees him as a brother. Ha ha ha, stupid man. Like, I understand being mean and cueing in the audience is a part of many comedies, but when executed correctly, the audience should be in on the joke, even if it's making fun of them. Kind of like how they execute it in Rick and Morty, where you can feel the writers speaking through the show to the viewers, but they do it tastefully and well timed, and not every 30 seconds, to where the viewer feels a part of the joke and can laugh with it.
Like this, Rick? Yeah, you shouldn't. It's not a likable premise. I mean, it's funny when I do a little nod to the viewers, but... What viewers? That's the right attitude, Morty. A few carefree verbal asides always by me, none of this season 3 moonlighting shit.
But in Velma, it makes it come off as if the writers are trying to roast the viewers and laugh at the viewers if they have a different opinion than the message is conveyed. And speaking of Shaggy or Norville, they did not even try with his character. I mean, they did not even attempt no iconic goofy voice or attempt at it. And I stand corrected about my early comments about him being a directionalist stoner, because now apparently he's a determined, drug-hating sidekick. So the writers are pretty much admitting here they had no intention of adapting or retelling the stories of the gang in a new light. They are legitimately telling a completely different story with characters completely unrelated to the original gang they are apparently based on. None of the gang is likable. Hell, not a single character in this show so far in my opinion is likable. Well, especially not Velma, who went from being a cute, understanding nerd who took on most of the investigation responsibilities during the mysteries to a smart-ass cynic who is so socially inept that I wasn't sure if the writers were trying to tick another box off the representation checklist by making her autistic. I don't think I established enough that this show is bait, through and through, nostalgia bait, and hate bait. Like, this show probably perfectly conveys why countries not in the West think we are fucking because this show literally cannot stop mentioning race. Every single quip or apparent joke that comes out of Velma's mouth is just Mindy Kaling's preconceived notion about race. Like, I can honestly do a full compilation on the amount of times the writers use race or white men to be more specific as the butt of the joke. Like, I am black and I felt some type of way, so I can't even imagine how a white person feels while watching this show.
Wouldn't he? If I were a rich white dude, I'd kill everybody just to get away with it.
But what any issue, but everyone loves it when white people play Jesus or a professional boxer. Why can't it ever go the other way, right?
We're all white people, Daphne. Minorities on TV can only deal drugs to escape poverty.
Alright, I get it!
Jeez. Sorry. I got really sidetracked with my rant. It's just that this show is so frustrating. Like, it took me an hour and a half to get through the first episode because I kept pausing and face-palming every 2 seconds. But the first episode mostly revolves around Velma and Norville trying to compile evidence to clear her name and figure out who the murderer was. Norville suggests that there's possibly evidence on his missing camera. Velma tracks down the camera and is led to Fred's house, to where she finds out he stole the camera to hide the fact that he hasn't went through puberty yet, and was going to bribe her for her silence. Velma misreads the situation and gets him arrested due to the fact that he's a white man with a small penis, so of course he did it. And no, I'm not lying, these were her words exactly.
Fred's a rich white guy with a tiny dong. He did it. Now,
Which then brings us into episode 2, which is just 21 minutes of targeting jokes and hate towards white people, and Mindy Kaling's disdain for said white people, even though she is cut from the same cloth of the people she seemingly hates. This episode revolves around Fred's trial for the murder of 2 girls. Oh yeah, by the way, at the end of the first episode, another girl was found murdered. Velma's father gets hired by the Fred family to defend him in the case, and Velma is trying to get a file pertaining to her missing mother from Daphne. Oh, I forgot to mention, apparently in this show, Velma's mother was an author who mysteriously disappeared one night. Velma blames herself for this and constantly suffers PTSD every time she tries to solve a mystery. And Daphne's adopted parents just so happen to be the lead detectives of the police department. Velma believes Daphne's parents didn't really try looking for her mother, and decides she wants to inspect herself. Daphne agrees to give Velma the file, but for $500, to where she solicits Velma to sell drugs for her as substitution for the cash. Velma eventually agrees, and we get 5 more minutes of mean-spirited jokes and Velma being unlikable. Like, seriously, every time she opens her mouth, I have to stop myself from muting the TV because it's unbearable. Velma accidentally sells drugs to her father, and her father talks to her and agrees to give her the $500 that she needs for the file in exchange for helping him prove Fred's innocence. Velma proceeds to regurgitate a dozen more spiteful race comments about Fred as if it means anything, and comes to the conclusion that he is so pathetic that he couldn't even murder anyone. The show is very adamant on showing the audience that Fred is a privileged male that is angry because of his small dick, and due to his small dick, he is such a child that he can't even fend for himself or cut his own food. Fred snaps due to the ridicule from the court after Velma's witness testimony and gets himself convicted. Velma then goes to Daphne to pay for her file, and when receiving it, she suffers a PTSD attack. And then we get this.
Did that work?
Like, what? Huh? Can girls just not be friends anymore in modern day Hollywood? Like, at first, I thought they were going to use this as a poor attempt at another meta commentary joke about what's currently going on the screen, but no. It seems like they're going all the way with this. Also, apparently Shaggy is obsessed with trying to get out the friend zone with Velma, just to get cucked by Daphne. Honestly, I don't know how much more of this I can take. This has to be satire. There isn't any way the writers were serious with this. Actually, you know what? I don't even know why I'm getting so mad. Like I said before, this is bait through and through. This has nothing to do with Scooby-Doo, outside of the names. This show is bait, and we all fell for it. I don't know if I'll be able to take much more of this shit show. Depending on how this video does, I'll decide if I'll subject myself through the torture of watching more episodes. Besides that, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more movie reviews and modern TV show rants. I just found out that Netflix decided to make a sequel to That 70s Show that no one asked for, so I might check it out and tell you guys if it's trash or not. Anyways, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you want. Like, I'm not gonna beg you, but I'm not gonna lie. You and that subscribe button looking mighty fine together.
If I ever even think about getting into 420 culture, or especially 420 related humor, kill me.